a lot of lenders out there that would just take that application and say, oh, you want to be at $2,000 a month? Here, put it here, and there you go. The big secret, right? I don't make any more money from you if the interest rate's higher or lower.
Yeah.
I make $0 extra in commission. And they had $100,000 they were putting down on this house. Okay, guys, take $21,000 out of that, pay off the credit card debt, eliminate $1,500 a month worth of credit card payments, and get your house mortgage just maybe a little bit higher, but it's only at 7% or 6%.
This. What is the most annoying thing that real estate agents do? All right, 10 things lenders don't want to tell real estate agents. I am looking forward to getting into this content, so let's go ahead and get started. One of the first is, if you guys don't know, RL is a lender right now with ownership mortgage, and I'm sure you get frustrated with agents quite a bit in the back and forth. And
sometimes you had your Angry Brandon episode. This might be my angry RL
that's great
episode.
Well, let's do it. Okay, so the first one is we got in here, don't try to pre-qual your client, just send them to the lender. And that's one of the things that I've seen agents do is they go, they come at this and they're like, okay, well, how much money do you guys have down, and what do you got, what do you think your credit scores are at? And it's like, guys, just send them to the lender.
Yeah, very often I have agents that have already talked through this with a client, and when the client comes to me, they have these set expectations, right? Because they've been set by the agent and they're not accurate. And it's not that they did anything quote unquote wrong, but programs change, guidelines change, things change, and you might not be up to date. The best person that will have all the information will be the lender. Get them to the lender as soon as possible.
Well, but the other thing is you just have the full picture. I mean, people, it's like you only know, as a real estate agent, you only know what they're telling you. Which even if you're a very good, the financials of it, and the back and forth, and about mortgages, which, most agents don't know as much as they think they do. But the reality of it is like you actually see everything laid out. You're looking at bank statements and tax returns and and so, I mean, how many times have somebody come to you and be like, hey, I make this much money a year, and you're like, nope, not according to your adjusted gross income, your AGI, you make $80,000 less than you told me.
Yeah, and honestly, man, this happens so often, especially with self-employed people. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I made $300,000 last year." Yeah, you did, but you wrote off, $290,000 worth of expenses, so you made $10,000.
Right.
But yeah, you've heard the term "buyers are liars" or the saying "buyers are liars." It's true here too, and it's not that they're quote unquote lying. They don't know how we evaluate income, and so it's not accurate. Or they looked at Credit Karma and it says they got an 800 credit score, well, they got a 740, things like that.
Well, the other thing is, as I find with a great lender, right, when I'm getting people to you, first of all, it takes the burden off of me to try to figure those things out, working with not having the full picture. But also there are like little things that you can kind of twist and turn and help them decide the best product, and help them decide how much money to put down, and help them decide like what are all of the options here. And that's the other thing is you have a broader sense of, hey, what's the best scenario for them based on the information that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and that leads me to a kind of a little bit of a story about a recent client. So they had a target monthly payment of $2,000. Okay, I don't want to spend more than $2,000.
Yeah.
Well, they had about $1,500 a month worth of credit card debt. And if you know credit card debt, the interest rate on credit card debt is about 25 or 26%.
Right.
$1,000 of it, but the total balance was only around $25,000. So, and they had $100,000 they were putting down on this house. Okay, guys, take $21,000 out of that, pay off the credit card debt, eliminate $1,500 a month worth of credit card payments that are at 25 or 26%, and get your house mortgage just maybe a little bit higher, but it's only at 7% or 6%.
That's a perfect example. That's crazy to me that they were just like, just pay it off.
Yeah. So we ended up like they're going to have a $2,300 house payment instead of the $2,000.
Yeah.
But they're not going to have $1,500 worth of credit card debt.
Yeah, they eliminated a ton of it.
And a good lender is going to look at that. Now, there's a lot of lenders out there that would just take that application and say, "Oh, you want to be at $2,000 a month? Here, put it here, and there you go." And they're off and running, but that's not a good holistic financial decision.
I like that. Yeah, very good. Holistic. So yeah, a really good lender is going to get in and see the full picture. Just take a break right now. If you guys haven't, like this episode, subscribe to the Agent Bridge podcast. We're running a little deal right now where you can get an Agent Bridge t-shirt if you leave us a Google review. So we'd love to get some more Google reviews. So you'll get a free Agent Bridge t-shirt. Send the Google review and then send us an email to hello@theagentbridge.com and with your address, and we will send you a t-shirt.
That's right.
Okay, so number 2, this is the other thing that pops up, often when I've got a client that maybe feels like they're a little more educated, is they like to do the rate shop thing, which drives me crazy because, one of the things I tell them is like, well, you can rate shop, and there are all of these like gimmick rates that are out there. They're just trying to lure people in. And they're like, well, so-and-so said that they could do a, let's say interest rates are at 6.5. And so-and-so said they could do a 5.9. I'm like, well, okay, look at, again, it's a whole picture thing. And a lot of these are gimmicks.
Yeah. Rates are largely the same. You rate shop, they're largely the same. Now, if you work directly with a specialty local bank, maybe they have a program that other people don't have because they're actually lending the money and they can make and choose the risk profile. But largely rates are the same. Rate shopping in and of itself is not terrible. But what I would say is make sure as an agent that you're driving them to your preferred lender in the end. Because guess what? As a broker, I have access to a number of banks. And if somebody brings me an actual loan estimate of a rate that I didn't quote them, almost always I can match or beat it.
Yeah.
Now, the only difference there is, the rates that you say like lure people in, a lot of times read the fine print. It's like with 1 discount point or 2 discount points or 3 discount points or whatever. And I quoted you a rate that didn't have any discount points because you told me you didn't want any. So that, a lot of these things, like it's just playing with the numbers. Like you get it to me, you give me the loan estimate, the actual loan estimate, not just some advertisement you found online.
Yeah.
I can match or beat it.
Yeah. Typically it's a scenario where it's like, well, hey, if they're putting this much towards buying down points, which basically, if you don't know what that is, you're basically doing prepaid interest. So there's interest that's there, right? And you're prepaying that to get the interest rate down.
That's right.
And so, if you're buying points, then you can buy down your interest rate. So a lot of times people aren't considering that they might be bringing a lot more money to the table to get that rate.
And it's not, there's so many other factors. Like what are they charging for origination? What are their other fees? What does closing costs look like in comparison to mine? Because that's the other thing people do. They'll give you a loan estimate and they won't collect all the prepaids, or they won't fund the escrow account, and they'll send the loan estimate out and they're like, well, my monthly payment's this. I'm like, well, it doesn't include your escrow.
Yeah.
So there's lots of other factors.
The other thing that I think of is, I've had so many situations where, somebody goes here for just like fractions of a percentage point, to get this better rate, whatever. But a lot of times with those, in those situations, or you don't have a trusted lender or a trusted mortgage advisor, and we don't make the closing date, and all of a sudden it's like that interest rate, they don't even care anymore. And so to me, it's like a lender that I can trust to get to closing on time is way better than whatever interest rate. And I have so many stories that I'll tell people. It's like, look, pick the lender that you can trust first, and then we can sort of work with some numbers, but that's so much more important when you get to the end of your deal and you're getting a clear to close, a week before, and, it's a more smooth selling experience than I've been with these people that have shopped the rates and went with, some gimmick rate, and we're missing the closing date and we've lost a weekend and we don't know when it's going to get together, and so-and-so's out of town or on vacation, and because nobody cares.
Here's the other thing about a trusted lender is we're going to put you in the best position possible. Like we feel like that's our duty. So if I get someone who I can help and I know I can help them, I'm going to help them, and we're going to close the deal, and everything's going to be great. If I can't help them, if I think that my products aren't the best fit for their current situation, I'm going to put them in the hands of someone who can.
Yeah.
So send them to a trusted lender first, whoever that is for you. And if for some reason they don't have a program that matches what they need, or they know of a program out there that's better, they're going to refer them out. Yeah. And then guess what? You've, built up some goodwill with your preferred lender, but still help the client find the best possible deal.
Exactly. All right. Okay. This is one that happens with us, and we really, didn't do this until COVID that I can remember. So we started selling on interest rate. Interest rates are high, interest rates are low. And then we talked about that. And really, for all of my career that I can remember, we didn't really talk about interest rates that much out there in the world. But suddenly when COVID came and we were getting like, they were down in the ones for a second and then they got into the 2s and 3s, then everybody starts talking about interest rates. So we kind of painted ourselves in a corner in terms of the market because we made the whole discussion around interest rates. It's like, really, it should be about, and every other industry does this. We talk about payment, right? It's like, how much is the monthly payment, right? Versus the interest rate, which is, largely, arbitrary. It's like, okay, well, if you can get in the house that you want for the amount of money that you want to spend a month, who cares what the interest rate is?
You ever been car shopping? They're like, hey, how much is the car? Well, it's $600 a month. No, how much does the car cost? Well, it costs $600 a month. They never tell you the price of the car. You know, you don't know how much the doc fee was or this or that. They just want to sell you a monthly payment. Yeah. It's the same because guess what? Normally as a lender, I find out very quickly in the conversation where they want to be monthly payment wise. Let me deal with all of the back end to get them there because guess what? I'm going to try to find the best program, the best rate, how much to put down, how much the closing costs are, and wrap all that into a bundled, this is where you said you wanted to be, and this is the best scenario to put you there. But guess what? I'm also looking, as in my story from previously, at the back end financial situation. And if I see something and I say, hey, that monthly payment, let's put that a little higher, but let's pay off some debt that's higher interest rate, I'm going to suggest that too.
Yeah. It's interesting, because really what people are looking at is the interest or the monthly payment to determine their house price anyway. And then they get zeroed in on the house price. Even sometimes it's like, well, you really are saying how much can I afford per month, right? And that's really where it shakes out practically. So people are actually starting there. So it's not like misleading. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't let people know what the interest rate is or know but largely as it pertains to someone's daily life, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They're thinking about how much am I going to have to pay per month? And that usually sets their expectation of a house price. Some people don't do it that way. Most people do, though.
Yeah. Well, and here's the secret, the big secret, right? I don't make any more money from you if the interest rate's higher or lower.
Yeah.
I make $0 extra in commission. Just like everybody else, it's loan amount.
Yeah.
You, it's purchase price as an agent. Me, when I'm working as an agent, it's purchase price. But for me, it's loan amount. So I'm not going to suggest a higher interest rate to you just so I can make a little bit extra money. It doesn't work that way. So I'm going to put you in the best product possible, period.
Yep.
And any good lender would do the same.
But how much are you in that conversation with buyers talking about monthly payment? Doesn't that sort of dominate the conversation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all the conversation.
Yeah.
People don't understand mortgages well enough to have any other conversation.
Yeah.
And the people that know just enough to be dangerous, that's where it starts to get a little bit more difficult to have those conversations because you're trying to direct it towards monthly payment because you know the ins and outs of all the programs, but they know just enough to ask some different questions to generate more conversation. And that's not bad. Knowledge is good. If anybody wants to go in depth about why I've picked a program or what I've suggested, I would love to have that conversation with you. But most of the time, the level of understanding about what's out there is just not there to have the in-depth conversation.
Right. So as an agent, you just need to get an understanding of what that looks like from a monthly payment perspective, but also you need to be having an ongoing active conversation with your lender about those things. Like that's what I've found out in my lending relationships in the past that were positive. I was talking to my lender 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, so I was more knowledgeable. The information was more relevant, but not that I want to annoy you. But let me ask you this. What is the most annoying thing that real estate agents do?
Real estate agents want to wait till the very last minute to get a pre-approval letter.
Why did they do that?
I have no idea. And sometimes it's out of your control. Look, an agent I love working with sent me one the other night at 9:00 and said they wanted to submit an offer that night. But guess what? He never does that. He always gives me plenty of time if he has it. Now, I'm always happy to generate a pre-approval letter as fast as I can in an emergency because things happen.
Yeah.
But give your lender some runway. As soon as you start working with a buyer, get them to the lender. And guess what? We're a team. We're both trying to get them to fill out the application.
Right.
I'm not the only one asking to fill out the application. I'd like it if you do it as well. And we're working together to try to get this person pre-approved so that you're not, as an agent, under the gun. Because guess what? When you want to write an offer, do you want to wait for me to do my part? When I'm at a soccer game with my kids or at dinner?
Right.
No. Like, you want to be able to submit the offer. So stop waiting.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. As a part of like my conversation, and we talk about this so much. It's like, guys, do the buyer consultation. Do the buyer consultation. Okay. The reason is because you can solve all of these problems, so you're not in a panic to get the pre-approval. You're not in a panic to, explain to your clients how a multiple offer works, and then they're kind of on their heels and they're like, well, we're not sure. You're just trying to win the deal. The consultation solves so many problems. And as a part of the consultation, like if somebody calls me and says, I'm ready to buy a house, the first thing I say is fantastic. The first thing we need to do is get you to a lender. Now,
invite me to the consultation. Let's have a Zoom. Let's all three do the consultation, or four if it's a family couple. Let's all do it. I'll jump on it with you, or maybe I'm on the second one. But I'm happy to have those conversations at the front end so that we can get an application done. We can get a pre-approval letter out, and then you guys can go about shopping, and you just let me know when you're under contract.
Yeah. There is a practical part of this, because typically, people will call you. I know as real estate agents, people call you and they go, hey, we want to go look at this house. And it's going to be too awkward of a conversation to do a consultation at that point. I would say go show them that one house, but talk to them while you're there. Like, that's a perfect opportunity where you've got a captive audience. They've seen the house. Be like, all right, let's push pause for a second. So tell me where you guys are in the house buying process. What's pushing you? Where are we? And let's talk about next steps.
That's right.
Then do a consultation. Maybe not at the house, but I would say, hey, go ahead and talk to RL, talk to the lender, and let's connect, for coffee before we look at these other houses tomorrow or the next day.
I will tell you that, and this is no joke, not an exaggeration, 9 out of the 10 loans I get are not what they told me at the beginning when we talked. Like, as far as how much they made, how much debt they had, how, all these different things, it's never exactly right. And most of the time, enough wrong that the landscape changes.
Yes.
Because, again, like, they're self-employed and they didn't account for what they wrote off, or they're W-2 and they counted all these bonuses that only happened one time 3 years ago, or, just any number of things. Or their hourly wages don't add up to quite what they said they did as far as how much they make per month, and like all these different things, or they forgot about a truck payment. Almost never exactly right. So getting them to me and letting me tell you exactly what they can afford, crucial at the beginning.
All right. Number 5, don't overpromise your clients on a closing date without talking to your lender. You've been great about hitting closing dates, but I think sometimes we're not, as a part of that active conversation, I find 30-day, I do 30-day minimum unless there's a critical thing, just because it gives me the time to work through the deal. Cause I've got, inspections and I've got the appraiser's got to get out there and all of those things. So it just is a good amount of time to all those things to happen. 3 weeks feels like crazy, like holding on by the, by the seat of your pants to get these deals closed. But I always talk to the lender, be like, hey, about 30 days on this. And that way, because we need to get a sense of where they are in their processing. And
30 days is a safe bet. I can close. I'm clear to close on a loan that I got 5 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Right now.
Okay.
We're not closing yet, but I'm clear to close. I could close tomorrow. I could close my quickest timeline is 7 days. But I also work with the largest lender in the country who is overstaffed and his underwriting's on point, and I can get something moving fast.
Yeah.
Now, as you just alluded to, it's never comfortable. Like, I have to have a responsive buyer, all the docs, a lot of things have to line up to close that fast. And a lot of things have to line up for you to close that fast. 30 days is ideal. Like, because that's a layup for me, and that's a layup for you. So
it's interesting. So they say, doctors say one of the biggest problems that they have is getting the clients to actually take the medicine. And one of the biggest problems that lenders have is like getting the clients to actually get them the documents that they need, get them the bank statements and get them the tax returns and all that stuff. So really most of the delay in getting to a closing is on behalf of the buyer, right? Because they haven't gotten the documents, or you're waiting a week longer than you should have on tax returns or whatever, and you like can't raise them, and they're, oh, I'm really busy, and it's like, okay, this is really important for you to make this timeline.
Yeah.
So as a real estate agent, it's like you need to make allowance for your buyers, occasional lack of engagement, or they're not getting things quick enough too. So if you have, that's what I say, if you've got like a 2 or 3 week client closing, you need to have a very honest conversation with, when the lender calls, we need docs of them that day. If you want to make this closing date, you guys need to be on top of it.
That's right. I mean, for me, on my side, it's all how responsive the buyer is, because I can tell you this, like the banks that I work with, the underwriting is going to be done within 24 hours, and that's on the long side. So really, it's like you have a good 1003, or what we call a 1003, but an application, you have a clean application and all the docs you need.
Yeah.
5 days or less.
Yeah.
Which it's funny because I feel like agents still ask me, like, I'm going to put 30 days in the contract. Is that still okay? I'm like, yeah, dude, it's easy.
Okay. This is another one, just speaking about like closings. I don't think realtors should close on Fridays. And here's why. And we talked to our agents and our brokerage about this. It's like, when you're closing on a Friday, here's why. There's a lot of other people closing on Fridays.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody for some reason decided Friday was the closing date because I guess it's easier to take that day off of work and go into the weekend. Here's the problem with Fridays. If anything happens and you don't close that day, you lost a weekend. You didn't lose a day. You lost a full weekend.
Yep.
And so it's like, and especially like one of the things that we've run into here in Tennessee is we're a dual title party, or dual title state. So the buyer has a title company and the seller has a title company. In Oklahoma City, where I've done lots of real estate, we just had one title company, so it's a lot easier. But when you have two, then we've got to go your client that to the wire to the title company, then we got to close, and then the docs, and then a fund, and then to this title company, into that. Right? So it just, there's a lot of things, that moving pieces there, and a lot of times the timeline might fall short.
And if each buyer or seller has a place they're buying or selling, then you've got more wires.
Yeah.
And I would say with modern lending and banking, this is less of a problem than it used to be, but definitely still a problem. And specifically in our state is, and didn't know if you were going to mention that, but the dual title state definitely makes some of that more of a headache than other states. But I mean, you've got to figure, like, a lot of times it's dependent on the person who's sending the wire, their bank. Like maybe they batch them and send them out at certain times of the day, and then you don't get it in time, because all of this has to wrap up by about 3:00 Eastern, or we don't fund, and then nobody gets keys, and then you're waiting until Monday.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I mean, just some practical things, like with moving companies, and they're overloaded on a Friday, and then they overcommit to something, and they've got to drop, you know, like you got a truck full of stuff. And I mean, I've seen that happen over and over again. And the closer you are to, the second half of Friday, everybody's panicking.
Yeah.
And so don't create panic. Don't create situations that are like a pinch point. If you're doing it on a Wednesday or a Thursday, it's a breeze.
When I close on my personal properties, we do Wednesday.
Oh, so you've done that yourself?
Wednesdays. Yeah, I do Wednesdays. But I mean, Thursday's probably a little bit more typical. People don't like to take off multiple days off work. They try to get the move done over the weekend. So Thursday's better.
Right. Okay. Another thing is, guys, stop talking bad about products when you don't understand. Like that, and this happened during COVID, I think, because we've over the course of my career, we've done, like, there was a time where FHAs were real strong, and then it kind of switched over to conventional because FHA was a lower down payment. Now conventional has a 3%. There's all of these different variables, but these products, these government products, are not bad.
No, and this could have very well been my answer to the most annoying thing agents do, just like the other answer. So many people badmouth FHA.
Yeah.
And they call it first-time home buyer loans. It's not what it is.
That's not true.
And I've said that multiple times on the podcast, but it's just not true. So but guess what? All those products you're bad-mouthing, and now I'm forced to put them in one of them because they don't have the 620 credit score that's needed for conventional, and I've got to put them in an FHA because it only needs 580.
Yeah.
I'm now hamstrung because you told them FHA sucks.
Yeah.
So stop bad-mouthing products. They're all good in their own ways, and they all have problems that they can or can't solve. Like, yeah, it sucks that you have a funding fee for FHA and that MI is required no matter how much you put down.
Yeah.
That sucks. But guess what? The rates are lower and it goes down to 580 and maybe they don't have a 620 credit score. So it solves a problem.
Yeah.
Like the person's still going to be able to buy a home. That's great.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
That's exactly right.
And, there's a number of other products like USDA where I can do 0% or VA where I can also do 0%, or conventional may be the best route because you are putting 20% down. And even though the FHA rate's lower, you don't have MI. So like all these things, like there's reasons there's different products.
Yeah.
Let me tell them which products are best for their situation.
Yep. So don't talk negative. Again, that's part of that consultation. It's like, it's not your job to teach people about the mortgages. Get them to a trusted lender that's a part of your team, and then you're not having to carry that weight.
That's right.
Okay. This is another one. So stop sending contracts with personal possessions attached to them.
Instant kickback. Yeah, I'm just going to kick it back. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not even going to start the loan process yet.
Right.
Like, stop. Redo it.
Right. Don't write the furniture in there. Don't write the kitchen table in there. So let's just say the client comes to you and they want the refrigerator and they want the washer and dryer and they want those things. What do we do?
Refrigerator, washer, and dryer, those can stay as appliances. Those aren't as big of an issue. But when you start getting to like non-appliance stuff and more personal possessions, like I really like those rocking chairs on the front, write those in. Or I really like, the golf cart. If you live in a golf cart community, let's add that in. No, that's not going to fly. So those all go on a bill of sale separate from the entire real estate transaction. So it doesn't even have to be formal. You find a bill of sale, template online or in Google Docs or whatever. Create it, get both parties to sign it, what does get conveyed and for how much money, and you guys keep that in your own records. Yeah. Like if you use .loop or Brokerman or whatever, you keep that in Brokerman or .loop. Don't send it to me.
Yeah, it just can't be in the contract.
It can't.
I mean, it's not going to make it through underwriting.
It won't.
Yeah, they'll just push it back. So yeah, don't put that stuff in there. All right. The other one is, again, just more about the conversation of having that active relationship with your lender in terms of don't guess on the numbers. Like, when we come to closing costs and all of those things, all of the numbers that are involved in the transaction and down payments, it's not your job to guess on those things. Right?
Yeah. A lot of times agents will say, and this is sometimes true. They'll say like, well, closing costs are 2%. Well, sometimes true, but not always.
Not always.
And so don't tell them that that's what the closing costs are. You might be able to say, usually it lands between 2 and 3%, but talk to a lender. That's a better way to say that.
Right.
Because if they see that, hey, that I was told that they're 2% and now you're showing me 2.7, what did you do wrong? It's just a very difficult situation to be in and to back out of. So I would just say, don't guess on the numbers like you said. It's safe to give them a range. And usually it lands within the range. But again, just direct them to talk to a lender. Yeah.
I think that's a really good, maybe a script that I would use for that. If I'm talking to somebody and they say, well, how much are the closing costs going to be? Instead, it varies. The best thing for you guys to do is talk to the lender about it. And he's going to give you an exact number for purchase price. That way we don't have to guess. Yeah. And then we're done.
Yeah.
Right? Then we move on. Because you wouldn't advise them on taxes. They wouldn't say, hey, am I going to pay capital gains on this? You're going to be like, nope. Or yeah, I'm going to be like, the best thing to do is to talk to a CPA, because every situation's different.
That's right. And there's a lot of factors that even I don't know at the very beginning to nail closing costs. So for instance, if I just had to give you closing costs based on what the lender I work with charges, I could give you an exact number the day we are under contract, exact to the penny. But guess what? It's not just me. I got title expenses that are rolled into closing costs that I don't set. They come from the title company. I've got prepaids, which are from home insurance and property taxes, which I don't set. And guess what? You're going to go find your own insurance and it may come back higher or lower than I anticipated. And so all of these things make up closing costs. And until I have the full picture, I can't get the exact amount. So if I can't, then the agent sure can.
That's right. Okay. Number 10. This has happened to me. Don't send the lender the inspection report or the repair proposal. Don't send it to them.
Nope.
I mean, and here's what's happened to me is I've been in a scenario where somehow the inspection report got sent to the lender and then the underwriter sees it and the underwriter creates a list of things that have to be done for the house to close. And he wants a qualified contractor to do the work. And as a part of that, like also he wants a re-inspection done by the inspector. So I've got all of these extra steps that have to be arranged as a part of the transaction. So now I'm running air traffic control for contractors, trying to get these things done and closed on time, and it's a nightmare.
It's called subject to, and it can happen in the appraisal too, which
Sure.
obviously the lender will see. So just keep that in mind. But anytime you have repairs that need to be done before the house can close, before the lender allows the house to close, it's just called subject to. So keep as much of that data out of their hands as possible. Again, they're going to see the appraisal. Nothing you can do about that. If the appraiser has something that's subject to, he's going to add it. But keep the inspection report out of this.
Yeah. Okay, final thoughts. I think the thing that sort of kept recurring throughout the course of this was having that active relationship with a lender so that you can, or an active conversation with a lender so you can ask these questions. That lender's a part of your team in helping clients and helping get through deals and helping. So it's like you need to just have someone that you can trust and reach out to frequently to create successful transactions and conversations with people.
Yeah, I mean, they're an extension of your team.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get involved with title work, do you? Like, you don't reach out to the title company and get involved in their business. Why would you want to do that with a lender? Use them as an extension of your team. Use them as the expert in that area.
Exactly.
And you get to stay out of it and not worry about it and take it off your to-do list. And you will just know that everything's going to be done when it should be done.
Yeah.
And the deal's going to close.
That was I guess that's right. That was the thing that I've always, over the years, as I've worked with different lenders, I always wanted to work with a lender that I did not have to worry that anything was going to get done.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. It would just, but I have worked with lenders over the past that they are updating me on, like, they're going like, hey, the clients did this, but I did this to fix it. I'm like, don't tell me about that.
Yeah.
Why? I don't care. Just fix the problem.
Yeah. If you need something from me, let me know. Otherwise.
Yeah. They kind of want to make themselves look like a hero. And that's for you guys as agents too. It's like, you don't need to be the hero. Just solve the problems.
That's right.
Right. And having a great lender will help solve those problems. All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, just like and subscribe. Our subscriber count's gone nuts over the last few months, and we appreciate that. We're at almost 1,200.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'd love it to keep growing. We like providing free content. It's one of the most fun things we do around our businesses. So definitely, yeah.
Yeah, one thing we're being also a little bit more open with or letting you guys know about is Six Figure Real Estate School. So if you like the stuff that you're hearing and you want to get in a class, we have cohorts that run about every month now. So if you'd like to get in a Six Figure Real Estate School class, we'd love to visit with you. Just send us an email at hello@agentbridge.com, and we'll set up a discovery call, or you can just go to theagentbridge.com, click on the courses and Six Figure Real Estate School. You can schedule a discovery call, and it's going to be with one of us. It's not going to be a salesperson. And we want to talk about you. We want to talk about your business, what we can do to help, see if it's a good fit for you. So if you're interested, let us know.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.